Close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and imagine the world growing wider and quieter as the story begins. The wind arrives before the Empire does. It comes low and steady, brushing across endless grass like a hand smoothing silk. There are no walls here, no bells, no stone streets echoing with footsteps. Only the steppe rolling, patient and indifferent. If you had woken here at dawn, wrapped in unfamiliar wool, the first thing you would feel is how small you are. The sky stretches impossibly far, a pale bowl of light, and the land beneath it seems to go on forever, offering nowhere to hide and nowhere to rest your eyes. This is the Mongol Empire, and it does not pause to let you adjust. Your day would begin before you were ready for it. Not because someone rang a bell or knocked on a door, but because the world itself demands movement. Horses snort softly nearby, their breath fogging in the cold air. They have already been awake for hours, shifting their weight, stamping the ground. The people around you rise without complaint. There is no softness in their motions. Every movement has purpose, learned from childhood, refined by survival. You would struggle first with the cold. Even in seasons you might call warm, the steppe holds a sharp edge. Nights sink deep into chill and mornings carry it forward. The felt walls of the Gare round, low and smoky, keep out some of the wind, but not all of it. You would sit up too slowly, stiff and disoriented, while others are already folding bedding, stoking embers, preparing to move. Because nothing here stays still for long. The Mongol world is not built to be occupied the way cities are, it is built to be crossed. Camps rise and vanish like mirages. You would barely learn the shape of a place before it is time to leave it behind. Poles are lifted, felt is rolled, ropes are tied with hands that never hesitate. Everything has a place and every place has a reason. You would fumble, trying to remember what goes where, your fingers numb, your mind still fogged with sleep. Someone would hand you fermented mare's milk. It smells sharp, tastes strange, and sits heavy in your stomach. There is no alternative. This is what there is. The Empire does not cater to preference. Outside, the horizon waits. If you thought walking long distances was tiring, you would quickly learn that riding is its own kind of endurance. Horses here are not tall and elegant, like the ones in stories you might know. They are compact, tough, and endlessly patient. They move all day without complaint, but they expect the same of you. Your legs would ache within hours. Your back would stiffen. Your hands would cramp from gripping reins as the land rolls and dips beneath you. There is no rhythm you can rely on. Sometimes the group moves fast, sometimes slow, sometimes not at all, but you never know which until it is happening. Commands are brief. Silence is common. You would search faces for reassurance and find none. Everyone is focused outward, scanning the land, reading signs invisible to you. A change in grass, a distant shape, the behavior of birds. In the Mongol Empire, awareness is not optional. It is survival. Hunger arrives quietly at first. Meals are not scheduled. They happen when food is available. Meat is dried, tough, and eaten without ceremony. Fat is prized. Waste is unthinkable. You would learn quickly not to turn your nose away. The steppe remembers everything you discard, and it does not forgive. Water is another lesson. Streams are not always where you expect them. Sometimes the water tastes of minerals and earth. Sometimes it is scarce. You would drink when told, even if you are not thirsty, because thirst later may not be answered. By midday, the sun burns brighter than you expect. There is no shade. The sky presses down, vast and empty, and the heat radiates from the ground. Your skin tightens, your lips crack. You would think of rest, of sitting down, of stopping. But the Empire does not stop. It flows, carried on hoofbeats and wind. Around you, life continues with unsettling calm. Children ride as if born in the saddle. Elders speak little but see everything. No one complains. Complaints do not change weather, hunger, or distance. If danger appears, and in this world it always might, it comes suddenly, a distant dust cloud. A shift in formation. Bows are unstrung and strung again with terrifying speed. Arrows are checked, fletching smoothed. You would feel your heart race, your breath shorten, while others remain steady, as if danger is just another part of the landscape. The Mongol Empire does not announce its violence. It simply acts. You would realize, perhaps too late, that strength here is not loud. It is efficient. Orders are obeyed instantly, not out of fear alone, but out of understanding. Every person knows their role. Every delay costs something. As the day stretches on, exhaustion settles into your bones. Not the sharp tiredness of effort, but a deep, dragging weight. The kind that makes thinking slow and mistakes easy. And mistakes here are remembered. When evening finally arrives, it does not come with relief. The temperature drops quickly. Fires are small, controlled. Light is precious. Stories are shared in low voices, but not for entertainment. They carry lessons, warnings, memory. You would listen, trying to understand names and places that blur together, realizing that history here is not written, it is written across the land. Your body would hurt in places you didn't know existed. Your hands smell of leather and smoke. Your clothes feel heavy with dust. And yet when sleep finally takes you, it is sudden and deep, because the Empire has taken everything else from you for the day, but rest is fragile. A horse shifts. Wind rattles the felt walls. Somewhere in the dark, a wolf calls, distant but clear. You wake, heart pounding, unsure why, while others sleep undisturbed. They have learned which sounds matter and which do not. By the second day, you would understand the truth. This empire is not cruel. It is simply uninterested in comfort. It rewards adaptation and punishes hesitation. It does not care where you came from or what you believe you deserve. You would not last a day, not because you are weak, but because this world demands a different kind of strength. One shaped by open skies, relentless movement, and a lifetime of learning how to survive without excess. As the wind continues to move across the grass, smoothing the land into endless waves, the Mongol Empire carries on vast, patient, and unstoppable long after your thoughts grow slow, long after sleep finally settles in, deep and heavy like the quiet of the steppe itself. And in that quiet, the story fades, leaving only the sound of wind and rest. The wind does not stop while you sleep. It slides along the ground, presses against the low curve of the shelter, and slips through the smallest openings as if curious about who lies inside. Your dreams are thin and scattered, pulled apart by unfamiliar sounds and the ache in your muscles. When you wake again, it feels as though you never truly slept at all. Dawn arrives without ceremony. There is no soft light creeping through curtains, no gradual easing into morning. The sky simply brightens, pale and vast, and the world expects you to move with it. Around you, others are already awake. Someone tightens a strap, someone checks a blade. A horse snorts, impatient. You sit up too slowly. The ground beneath you is hard, unyielding. Your body protests as you rise, every joint stiff, every muscle sore from yesterday's ride. No one asks if you are tired. Tiredness is assumed. It is not an excuse. Breakfast is brief. A strip of dried meat, chewed slowly to soften it. A mouthful of liquid that warms your throat but does little else. You would long for bread, for fruit, for something familiar, but familiarity has no value here. What matters is what lasts, what travels, what does not spoil. Soon the camp dissolves. What seemed solid an hour ago vanishes into bundles and loads. The land looks unchanged, as if no one was ever here at all. You realize then how little mark this empire leaves on the earth, even as it stretches across it. You mount your horse again. Your legs protest immediately. Riding is not sitting, it is constant adjustment. Your balance is tested with every step, every shift in terrain. The saddle is firm, unforgiving. It was never meant to be comfortable, only effective. The group moves out, spreading slightly, never clustering too close. Distance is maintained not for politeness, but awareness. Each rider watches not only the horizon, but one another. You try to do the same, though you are unsure what you are looking for. Hours pass. The steppe changes subtly. The grass grows shorter, the wind sharpens. Clouds gather far away, thin and stretched like pulled wool. Someone gestures, and the direction shifts without discussion. You would want to ask why, but you already know the answer would not help you. The reason is written in signs you have not learned to read. Your mouth dries quickly today. You swallow often, hoping it will help. It does not. When water is found, it is shared carefully. No one drinks deeply. You mimic them, though your body begs for more. By midday your thoughts slow. Heat presses down, relentless and open. There is no tree to break the sun, no shadow long enough to matter. Sweat dries almost as quickly as it forms, leaving salt on your skin. Your eyes sting. You blink against the glare, scanning the empty distance until it all begins to look the same. This is another way the Empire tests you, not with enemies, but with sameness. The land stretches endlessly, and your mind searches for edges that do not exist. You begin to understand how easy it would be to lose yourself here, to ride too far in the wrong direction, to disappear without sound. The Mongols do not disappear. They move as one. At some point, the pace quickens. No signal you recognize, just a shift you feel too late. Horses lean into motion, hooves drumming faster. Your grip tightens. The wind tears at your clothes. Your heart races, unsure whether this is urgency or routine. It turns out to be neither. It is training. They ride hard, then slow. Ride hard again, then scatter briefly, then regroup. You struggle to keep up, your arms burning, your legs trembling. The horse beneath you remains steady, as if this is nothing at all. It has done this 1,000 times. You have not. An arrow whistles past, not aimed at anything, just released, practiced, reclaimed. Bows bend and relax with fluid ease. You watch, half in awe, half in fear. These are not warriors who rely on brute force. They rely on repetition so deep it becomes instinct. If danger came now, you would not survive the confusion. By late afternoon, clouds finally gather overhead. The light softens, but relief does not follow. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of rain. Someone looks up, judging distance and time. The group moves again, not faster, but smarter. Rain here does not fall gently. When it comes sideways, driven by wind that cuts through layers and bone alike. The ground darkens quickly, turning slick. Horses adjust without hesitation. You do not. Your balance falters. Your clothes cling heavy and cold. Your fingers numb, struggling to respond when you need them most. Still, no one stops. Shelter is found only when it must be. When it is assembled quickly, practiced hands working even in rain. You try to help and only slow things down. Someone gently moves you aside, not unkindly, simply efficiently. Inside, the air is damp and smoky, your teeth chatter. You wrap yourself tighter, wondering how anyone could choose this life. Then you remember they did not choose it. They were born into it. The Empire shaped them the way the wind shapes stone, slowly, relentlessly. Night falls early under heavy cloud. Darkness here is complete. No lamps glow in the distance. No city hum fills the air. Just the sound of rain on felt, the occasional stamp of a horse, the low murmur of voices. Food is shared again. Warm this time, thick with fat. It settles in your stomach, grounding you. For a moment, you feel almost human again. But even now, rest is conditional. Someone stands watch, someone always does. You notice how shifts change without words, how trust is distributed through action, not speech. You would like to sleep deeply, but your body remains tense, listening for threats it does not know how to name. As sleep finally takes you, you realize something unsettling. This empire does not overwhelm you all at once. It wears you down gently, day by day, mile by mile, decision by decision. It asks you to be present when your body wants to retreat. It demands awareness when your mind wants to drift. And tomorrow, it will ask again. The rain eases sometime before dawn. The wind remains. It always does. When you wake for the third time in this land, the idea of lasting a day already feels distant, almost naive. You are not broken yet, but you are learning how quickly you could be. And as the steppe stretches endlessly beyond the edge of your vision, the Mongol Empire moves on, indifferent to who can keep up and who cannot, carrying the story forward while your thoughts grow slower, heavier, and finally drift again towards sleep. The morning comes quietly this time, as if the land itself is catching its breath. The rain has passed, leaving the grass dark and flattened, each blade heavy with water. The air smells clean and sharp, and for a moment, just a moment, you feel almost refreshed. That feeling does not last. Your body remembers everything as soon as you move. The stiffness returns, deeper now, settling into your shoulders and hips like a warning. Around you, the others rise without comment. Wet felt is folded. Ropes are checked. Nothing is rushed, yet nothing is delayed. Efficiency here has a calm rhythm, learned through years of repetition. You try to mirror it, to move with purpose instead of hesitation, but your hands still pause where theirs do not. Your horse waits patient and solid. You run a hand along its neck, feeling warmth beneath the coarse hair. It has carried you farther than you thought possible already. It will carry you farther still, whether you are ready or not. The ride begins again. The land after rain is deceptive. What looks firm can betray you. Mud grips hooves. Shallow dips hide pools of water. The riders adjust effortlessly, shifting weight, choosing paths that seem invisible to you. Once, your horse stumbles slightly, and your heart leaps into your throat. You recover, barely, and no one looks back. You are expected to recover. As the day stretches on, you begin to notice how much is communicated without sound. A tilt of the head. A hand lifted briefly. A change in spacing. This empire does not shout. It flows. Your hunger returns early today. It gnaws rather than aches, a quiet insistence. You focus on the movement of the horse, on the rise and fall beneath you, letting the rhythm carry you forward. Time loses its shape. There is only distance. Somewhere in the afternoon, you pass the remains of another camp. The ground is bare, grass pressed flat in circles. A fire ring, cold and scattered, nothing else. No trash, no markers. Just a memory fading back into the steppe. You realize then how easy it would be to erase yourself here. How little proof would remain that you ever passed through. The thought lingers longer than it should. Later, the pace slows. Horses breathe heavier. The group tightens slightly, not out of fear, but intention. This is a place chosen carefully. You do not know why, but they do. Camp is made again. As evening settles, the sky clears, revealing stars so sharp they seem close enough to touch. You have never seen so many. They stretch endlessly, mirroring the land below. Firelight flickers low, casting long shadows that dance and disappear. Someone speaks softly, telling a story you cannot fully understand. Names rise and fall, places far away and long ago. You catch fragments of battles fought across rivers, of cities that fell without walls, of messengers who rode for days without rest. The story is not meant to impress. It is meant to remember. You listen anyway. Your body feels hollow now, worn thin by movement and cold and attention. When food is passed, you take it without thought. Your senses have dulled, narrowed to what matters: warmth, balance, breath. Sleep comes faster tonight, deeper, but it is not peaceful. Your dreams are filled with motion, endless riding, endless grass, the sound of hooves that never fade. When you wake suddenly, heart racing, the world is still. Too still. Then you hear it. The wind again, constant and low, as if the land itself is breathing. Someone outside the shelter shifts. Metal clicks softly. A bowstring hums as it is tested. You lie still, understanding at last that safety here is not the absence of danger, but readiness for it. Morning arrives. By now, your sense of time is gone. Days blend together, marked only by fatigue and distance. Your skin is rough. Your lips cracked, your hands hardened. You are changing, but not fast enough. The Empire does not wait for you to catch up. At some point, the group divides. Not dramatically, just a quiet separation, like water splitting around a stone. You are guided with a few others. No explanation is given, none is needed. Trust flows downward here, from those who see further. The ride grows harder. Hills rise, slow and unforgiving. The wind strengthens, pushing against you with steady force. Your horse leans into it, head low. You follow its lead, learning at last to stop fighting every movement. Your legs burn, your breath comes shallow. You think of stopping. The thought feels dangerous, like leaning too far over an edge. Then, without warning, the pace stops. You dismount clumsily, legs shaking. Someone offers you water. You drink carefully, savoring each swallow. No one smiles. No one frowns. This is simply what happens. You realize something then, sitting on the ground, staring at the endless land. You would not last a day here, not because the Mongol Empire is brutal in the way stories describe, but because it asks you to give up things you did not know you were holding on to: comfort, control, certainty. Here, you belong only as long as you can move with the world instead of against it. As the group prepares to ride again, you close your eyes briefly, letting the wind pass over your face. It does not care who you are, it never has. And when you open your eyes, the horses are already moving, the empire already flowing onward, carrying the story forward while your body sinks deeper into exhaustion, and your thoughts soften, blur, and slowly, gently, drift toward rest once more. The ride resumes with a steadiness that feels almost merciful, though nothing about it is easy. The land begins to rise and fall more noticeably now, gentle slopes giving way to longer climbs. Each ascent steals a little more from your legs. Each descent jars your bones. You stop counting how many times you shift in the saddle, searching for relief that never quite comes. The horse beneath you breathes steadily, unbothered, as if distance itself is only an idea humans invented. You start to notice how little anyone speaks. Words are used only when movement cannot say enough. When someone points, it is precise. When someone stops, it is final. You realize how much energy you have spent in your life explaining things that never truly mattered. Here, explanation is a luxury. As the sun climbs higher, the air grows thinner, cooler, sharper. Your lungs work harder. Each breath feels deliberate now, something you must remember to take. The wind hums in your ears, flattening thought, smoothing worry into a dull background noise. At some point, you stop wishing for comfort. The wish exhausts you more than the lack itself. The group halts briefly near a narrow stream cutting through stone. The water runs cold and clear. You kneel awkwardly, splash in your face, letting the shock wake you more fully than sleep ever could. The chill stings, then fades, leaving clarity behind. You drink, slowly, feeling life return to your fingers. No one lingers. Soon the stream is behind you, swallowed by the land, and the empire stretches onward again. Hours pass, or minutes. You no longer know which. Your body begins to move differently now, not with ease but with acceptance. You stop resisting the sway of the horse and start to follow it. Your hands loosen. Your shoulders drop. Pain is still there, but it no longer demands all of your attention. It has become part of the rhythm. This is how the empire survives. You realize not by avoiding hardship, but by absorbing it until it becomes ordinary. As evening approaches, the sky turns wide and pale, clouds drifting like slow thoughts. A distant shape appears on the horizon, dark against the light. Your heart tightens instinctively. Others notice it too. The formation shifts, subtle but immediate. As you draw closer, the shape resolves into stone. Ruins. Broken walls rise from the ground, low and weathered. No roofs remain. No doors. Just outlines of something that once stood still in a land that does not favor stillness. You ride past without stopping. No one looks twice. The message is clear. Permanence is temporary here. Camp is made nearby, but not within the ruins. Never within walls. Fire is small. Smoke is managed. Everything is deliberate. You sit near the edge of the group, watching shadows stretch across broken stone. You imagine people who once lived here, thinking themselves settled, protected. You wonder how long it took for them to realize they were wrong. Night deepens. Stars appear again, cold and distant. The temperature drops sharply, as if the land has exhaled all its warmth at once. You pull your clothing tighter, curling inward. Someone tosses more fuel on the fire, and sparks leap briefly before fading into dark. A child nearby practices tying knots, fingers moving quickly even in low light. An elder sharpens a blade, slow and careful. Life continues, balanced between motion and stillness. You feel strangely quiet inside. Sleep arrives without struggle tonight. It takes you whole. When you wake again, it is before dawn. The world is blue and silent. Frost glitters faintly on the ground. Your breath fogs in front of you. For a moment, you do not remember where you are. Then the ache returns, and memory follows. You rise with the others, slower than them but no longer confused. You know the order now. You know what comes next. You mount. You ride. The day unfolds much like the last, and the one before it. Distance, wind, silence, hunger, thirst, movement. And then, something changes. A messenger arrives alone, riding hard. The horse is lathered with sweat, chest heaving. The rider speaks quickly, urgently. You do not understand the words, but you understand the effect. The group stiffens. Decisions ripple outward. Within moments, everything shifts. The pace increases sharply. The ride becomes relentless. Brakes shorten. The land blurs. Your muscles scream in protest. You bite down on the pain, focusing on staying upright, staying aware. This is what urgency feels like here, not chaos, but precision under pressure. You realize, as your vision narrows and your breath burns, that this empire can change direction, speed, purpose in an instant. That flexibility is its strength. That adaptability is its weapon. You would not last a day because you are used to preparation, to warning, to transition. Here, there is only response. By nightfall, you are barely aware of your body. You move because stopping feels impossible. When camp is finally made, you dismount and sink to the ground, legs trembling uncontrollably. Someone hands you food. You eat without tasting it. You lie back staring at the sky, too tired even to think. And in that exhaustion, a quiet understanding settles over you. The Mongol Empire does not conquer by force alone. It conquers by endurance, by movement, by demanding that everyone within it become part of its rhythm or be left behind. As sleep pulls you under once more, the sound of the wind returns, low and constant, carrying the empire onward across the steppe, while your thoughts soften, stretch, and finally fade into rest. The night passes like a deep, unbroken breath. When you wake again, it is with the dull certainty that rest here is never complete. Your body feels heavier than before, as if the land itself has pressed into you while you slept. Muscles respond slowly, your fingers ache when you curl them. Even lifting your head takes intention. Yet around you, the camp is already alive. Someone is tightening saddle straps, hands moving automatically in the half-light. Another checks the horizon, eyes narrowed, reading distance the way others read clocks. A quiet cough, the soft snort of a horse, the muted scrape of metal against stone, these are the sounds of morning in the Empire. You sit up, drawing your knees in, and feel the cold bite immediately. Frost still clings to the grass, silver and fragile. The sky is pale, stretched thin, as if it might tear. You breathe in, slow and deep, and the air burns your lungs for a moment before settling. Food is passed, you take it without thinking now. There is no hesitation, no comparison to what you once knew. Your world has narrowed to what is useful. The ride begins again. Today the land feels wider somehow, more exposed. The grass grows shorter, the ground firmer. Wind sweeps uninterrupted across the steppe, pushing against you steadily, testing your balance, your patience. You lean forward, instinctively now, letting the horse cut through it. Your thoughts drift, not because you are relaxed, but because you are spent. Memory floats up uninvited soft beds, quiet rooms, days measured in hours instead of distance. The memories feel unreal, like stories someone else once told you. You realize how quickly comfort fades when it is no longer reinforced. At midday, the group halts briefly. Horses graze where they can. You slide down from the saddle, legs weak, and sit on the ground. The earth is cold through your clothes. You welcome it. It steadies you. No one speaks much. There is a shared stillness, heavy but not unpleasant. You watch clouds drift overhead, slow and indifferent. The sky here is never decorative. It is functional weather, direction, warning. When the ride resumes, it is quieter than before. Not slower, just more focused. Spacing tightens slightly. Heads turn more often. You feel it then, not fear exactly, but attention sharpened to a fine edge. Something is expected. Hours later, you begin to notice signs you would have missed before. Tracks in the dirt, grass pressed differently. A bird lifting suddenly from the ground. The riders adjust, subtle and synchronized. You follow, heart thudding, unsure what you are responding to, only that you must. The Mongol Empire does not explain danger. It prepares for it. Nothing happens, and yet the tension does not fade. It hums beneath the ride, carried forward mile after mile. Your jaw aches from clenching without realizing it. Your shoulders burn from holding yourself too rigid. By evening, when camp is finally made, the relief is almost painful. You sink down near the edge of the group, staring at your hands. They look different now, rougher, darker, veins standing out sharply. They look like they belong here more than you feel they do. Firelight flickers again, low and controlled. Someone hums softly, a sound barely distinguishable from the wind. It is not a song meant for listening. It is a habit, a grounding rhythm. You lie back and let the ground support you. As darkness deepens, you think about what it means to last a day. You had imagined it as endurance alone, strength, toughness, willpower. But you understand now that lasting here requires surrender. You must let go of expectation, of resistance, of the need for ease. You must become smaller than the land and faster than fear. Sleep comes unevenly tonight. You drift, wake, drift again. Each time, the world is unchanged. Wind, stars, horses shifting in their sleep, the empire waiting. When dawn comes, it feels almost familiar. Your body moves before your thoughts catch up. You rise, gather what little you have, prepare without being told. This realization surprises you more than anything else so far. You are learning, but learning is not the same as belonging. As the ride begins again, the horizon opens endlessly ahead. There is no sign that the journey will slow, no indication of arrival. Only movement. You know now, with quiet certainty that the Mongol Empire does not break you quickly. It reshapes you slowly until the person you were no longer fits the world you remember. And as the hooves drum their steady rhythm into the earth, and the wind carries dust and time across the steppe, your thoughts grow softer, less defined, until they drift once more into the long, gentle darkness of sleep, carried onward by an empire that never stops moving. The rhythm of the ride settles into you so deeply that you no longer question it. You wake, you move, you ride. The order feels inevitable now, like the rising and setting of the sun. Your body still aches, but the ache has changed. It no longer startles you. It hums quietly beneath everything else, a constant reminder that you are still here, still moving. The land stretches onward, broad and patient. Some days it rolls gently, the grass whispering under the wind. Other days it hardens, the earth packed and pale, scattered with stones that rattle beneath hooves. You stop thinking of the steppe as empty. It is full of direction, of warning, a promise. You are simply learning how to see it. By now, you have learned to read the others a little. When shoulders relax, the day will be long but steady. When eyes narrow and spacing shifts, something lies ahead. You have learned not to ask. Questions cost energy, and energy is never wasted here. At some point you realize you are no longer counting days. The idea of time has loosened its grip. You measure life instead in water breaks, in changes of wind, in how the light falls across the land. Morning is pale and sharp. Midday is blinding and vast. Evening softens everything, drawing long shadows that stretch like tired limbs. One afternoon the wind dies suddenly. The silence feels unnatural. Even the horses seem to notice, lifting their heads, ears turning. The absence of sound presses against you harder than the wind ever did. You swallow, throat dry, instincts flaring without direction. A signal passes down the line. Slow, spread, watch. You do as you are shown, widening the distance between you and the next rider. Your heart beats faster, but your hands remain steady on the reins. That surprises you. Fear is still there, but it no longer paralyzes you. It sharpens you instead. Nothing appears. Minutes stretch thin. The silence breaks eventually, the wind creeping back as if it had only been holding its breath. Gradually, the tension eases. The empire flows forward again. You realize then that much of what exhausts you here is not action, but readiness. Being prepared for danger that may never arrive. Holding yourself open to possibility without knowing which form it will take. This too is a skill. As days blur together, your senses sharpen in small ways. You notice changes in light before others point them out. You recognize the smell of rain before clouds gather. You learn how to shift your weight on the saddle to spare your legs, how to loosen your grip to save your hands. These lessons arrive quietly, without praise. One evening, as camp is made near a low ridge, you climb a short distance away, drawn by the need to see further. From the top, the land spreads out endlessly, a sea of grass and shadow. Fires glow faintly below, small and controlled, like stars fallen to earth. You sit there for a while, wrapped in borrowed wool, breathing slowly. You think about the world you came from, the noise, the walls, the certainty of shelter. You realize how loud it was, how crowded. Here, there is nothing to distract you from yourself. Every weakness echoes, every strength is tested. You understand now why you wouldn't last a day, not because you couldn't ride or endure hunger or face the cold, but because the empire strips away the parts of you that rely on convenience, on softness, on assumption. It leaves only what you can carry. And most people carry far less than they think. Night deepens. You return to camp. No one asks where you went. No one needs to. You are expected to return, just as you are expected to leave when the time comes. Sleep arrives slowly tonight, settling over you like a heavy cloak. Your thoughts drift without resistance. The wind resumes its quiet song. Hooves shift softly. Somewhere a horse breathes deep and slow. The Mongol Empire moves even as you sleep. And in that motion, steady and unstoppable, your mind finally lets go, floating gently into rest, carried onward across the endless steppe, where lasting a day is not about surviving the hours, but about surrendering to the rhythm of a world that does not bend for anyone. The next time you wake, you do not know why you are awake. There is no sound that startles you, no sharp movement, no cry in the dark. And yet your eyes open, alert before your thoughts arrive. For a moment you lie still, listening. The night breathes around you, wind sliding over grass, horses shifting weight, leather creaking softly. Everything feels balanced on a thin edge. Someone else is awake too. You sense it before you see it, a presence moving just beyond the fire's reach. A figure stands, watching the horizon, unmoving. You realize then that awareness has begun to live inside you as well, waking you when nothing is visibly wrong. This is how the Empire stays alive. Dawn comes pale and cold. The sky lightens slowly, stretched thin like worn fabric. You rise without being told, fingers stiff but sure. You help where you can now, not perfectly, but without hesitation. A strap tightened, a bundle lifted, a horse steadied. No one thanks you, you no longer expect it. The ride begins again as it always does, but today the land feels different. The ground grows firmer, the grass shorter, the horizon sharper. The wind carries dust instead of scent. You squint into the distance, eyes watering, and realize you are no longer looking for landmarks. You are reading space itself. Hours pass beneath the steady drum of hooves. Your body moves automatically now. You adjust your posture without thought. You drink when offered, eat when given, rest when rest appears. There is no resistance left in you, no argument. The Empire has not crushed you, it has worn you smooth. By midday, the sun presses hard again, flattening shadow and thought alike. Heat shimmers above the ground. The world feels distant, as if you are riding through a dream someone else is having. Your breathing slows, deep and measured. Panic no longer visits you. There is no room for it. At a brief halt, you stand beside your horse and feel its warmth radiating outward, steady and reassuring. You rest your forehead briefly against its neck, eyes closed. The animal does not move. It accepts your weight, your exhaustion, without question. You realize then how much of this empire depends on trust, not spoken, not promised, but practiced. Trust that each rider will hold their place. Trust that each horse will carry its load. Trust that when the moment comes, action will follow without delay. Late in the afternoon, clouds gather low and dark. The air thickens. The wind shifts again, restless. Riders glance upward, then outward. The pace adjusts, subtle but immediate. You follow without thinking. Rain arrives suddenly, heavy and cold, flattening the land, turning dust to mud. Your clothes darken, cling. Water runs down your face, stinging your eyes. Still, the ride continues. The Empire does not stop for weather. It absorbs it. Your fingers grow numb. Your jaw tightens. You focus on the rhythm, hooves, breath, sway, hooves, breath, sway. The repetition anchors you, keeps you from slipping into fatigue too deep to climb out of. When shelter is finally made, it is quick and efficient. Wet felt is stretched and tied. Fire is coaxed to life despite the damp. Steam rises from bodies and earth alike. You sit close to the warmth, hands extended, watching the firelight flicker across faces carved by wind and time. No one looks comfortable. No one complains. Food tastes richer tonight, heavier. Fat coats your mouth, grounds you. You feel it settle into your body, turning cold into something manageable. Someone speaks quietly, recounting a route, a crossing, a distance yet to come. You do not understand the words, but you understand the meaning. Tomorrow will be longer. Sleep comes deep and sudden, pulling you under without warning. When you wake again, the rain has passed. The ground glistens under early light. Your body feels heavy, but whole. You stretch slowly, listening to joints protest and then comply. Pain is still there, but it no longer frightens you. The ride resumes. At some point during the day, you realize you have stopped thinking about leaving. The thought simply does not arise. There is only forward, only the next movement, the next decision made for you by the rhythm of the group. This realization unsettles you more than fear ever did. You understand now why stories about this empire speak of inevitability. It does not need to convince you. It does not need to threaten. It moves, and if you move with it, you belong temporarily, conditionally, completely. If you cannot, you are simply left behind. As evening approaches once more, the land opens wide and quiet. The sky deepens into shades of gold and blue. The wind softens, brushing past like a tired hand. You ride on, eyes half-lidded, thoughts slow and gentle. You would not last a day here, not because the days are cruel, but because they ask you to give up the idea of lasting at all. The Mongol Empire does not measure survival in hours. It measures it in motion. And as the hooves carry you onward, steady and endless, your mind loosens its grip, drifting again into sleep, wrapped in the vastness of a world that never stops moving. The land grows quieter as if it has decided to listen. Not in the way silence feels empty, but in the way it feels deliberate. The wind softens, lowering its voice. The horses move with a steadier calm. Even the rhythm of the ride feels slower, stretched wide like the horizon itself. You notice it in your breathing first. It no longer races or resists. It settles into a deep, even pattern, rising and falling with the motion beneath you. Your body has stopped asking when the day will end. It no longer argues with distance. It accepts it. Morning blends into afternoon without ceremony. The sun arcs overhead, casting light that flattens the land, erasing contrast until everything feels suspended in brightness. The steppe looks endless from every direction, but no longer threatening. It simply is. At a long halt, you dismount and sit with your back against your horse's flank. The warmth seeps through your clothes. You close your eyes not to sleep, but to rest without needing to disappear. The sounds around you are soft and functional. Leather, breath, wind. You realize how little you think of yourself now. There was a time when every discomfort demanded attention, when hunger, cold, and fatigue felt personal. Here, they are just conditions, like weather, like terrain. You move through them the way water moves through stone, not fighting, just shaping yourself to fit. Someone passes you a strip of dried meat. You chew slowly, patiently. You no longer rush eating. There is no reason to. Food arrives when it does. Wanting it sooner changes nothing. When the ride resumes, the terrain shifts again. The ground slopes gently downward, opening into a wide basin. The air grows warmer. The smell of grass deepens. You watch how the riders scan the area, alert but unhurried. Nothing is taken for granted, yet nothing is feared without reason. A herd appears in the distance, animals grazing, unaware. The group adjusts course slightly, skirting wide. There is no desire to disturb unnecessarily. Energy is preserved. Conflict is chosen, not stumbled into. You think of the word empire and realize how poorly it fits what you see. There are no banners here, no thrones, no stone monuments announcing power. The empire exists in movement, in coordination, in the shared understanding that no one is separate from the whole. It expands not by holding ground, but by passing through it. As the afternoon stretches on, fatigue returns, but softer now, more manageable. You know how to sit into it, how to let it exist without letting it consume you. This knowledge feels quiet and powerful. Late in the day, clouds gather again, thin and high. Light filters through them, diffused and gentle. Shadows stretch long and slow. The pace eases slightly, not because the riders are tired, but because the land suggests it. Camp is made near a shallow rise that breaks the wind. The setup feels almost graceful now. You find yourself anticipating each step, reaching for ropes before being asked, stepping aside when space is needed. You no longer feel in the way. As darkness settles, the fire is lit small and steady. Sparks lift briefly, then vanish into the night. You sit close enough to feel warmth, far enough to respect space. Someone pours a small amount of liquid into a shared vessel. You take a sip when it reaches you. The taste is sharp, grounding. Stars emerge one by one, then all at once, filling the sky until it feels heavy with light. You lean back, watching them, letting your thoughts drift without direction. There is no need to hold on to anything. You understand now something simple and profound. You wouldn't last a day here because the empire does not meet you halfway. It does not adapt to you. It asks you to adapt fully or fade quietly from its path. And adapting means letting go of the version of yourself that needs reassurance, explanation, softness at every edge. It means trusting motion over meaning, rhythm over comfort. Sleep comes gently tonight. Not sudden, not heavy, just a slow sinking, like lowering yourself into deep water that holds you without effort. The sounds of the camp blur and soften. The stars dim behind your eyelids. The Mongol Empire continues its endless movement across the steppe, carrying riders, horses, stories, and time itself forward while you drift, calm and weightless, into rest, knowing that in this world, lasting a day was never the point. The point was learning how easily a day can carry you away. Morning unfolds like a quiet agreement between sky and earth. A pale light spreads slowly across the steppe, brushing the tops of the grass, touching the curves of saddles and the outlines of sleeping forms. You wake before anyone speaks, before anything moves. Your eyes open to the soft blue of early dawn, and for a moment you lie still, listening to the world breathe. The air is cold, but not sharply so. It rests against your skin, steady and honest. You draw in a long breath and let it out slowly, watching it fade. Your body feels worn, yes, but familiar in its weariness. You know these aches now. They greet you like old companions. Around you, others stir. A hand pushes aside felt, a boot meets earth. A horse shakes its mane, the sound low and hollow in the quiet. The camp begins to dissolve once more, shapes turning into bundles, shelter into movement. Nothing here lingers longer than it must. You rise with them. There is no hesitation in your motions now. You fold, lift, tie, adjust. Not perfectly, but with rhythm. The tasks no longer feel foreign. They feel necessary. When you mount your horse, you do not brace yourself. You settle into the saddle the way water settles into a cup naturally, without force. The ride begins. Today the sky stretches clear and endless, the kind of blue that feels deeper than thought. The sun climbs slowly, warming the land in gentle layers. Wind brushes past, light and wandering, no longer a challenge, just a companion moving alongside you. The steppe rolls outward, golden and wide. In the distance, low hills rise like sleeping animals. You watch them grow closer, then drift behind, the landscape changing so gradually you barely notice until it has already passed. Your mind moves differently now. You no longer measure distance and effort. You no longer ask how far or how long. Those questions belong to a world with destinations. Here, there is only continuation. At midday, you stop near a cluster of stones that break the wind. Horses lower their heads to graze. You sit on the ground, back straight, eyes half closed. The sun warms your face. For a while you simply exist, no thoughts to chase, no plans to form. You feel something unexpected then. Not strength, not pride, something quieter. Belonging not to the empire, not to the riders, but to the moment itself. To the open air, to the rhythm of breath and movement. You understand how life here narrows until only what is real remains. When the ride resumes, you notice how the group moves like a single creature, expanding, contracting, turning, flowing. No one commands loudly. Direction travels through posture, through awareness. You follow not because you are told, but because the motion carries you. Late afternoon brings a soft golden light that stretches shadows long across the land. Dust rises gently under hooves, glowing in the air. Everything feels suspended in stillness and motion at once. You think back to the person who first arrived here, uncertain, overwhelmed, clinging to old ideas of comfort and control. That person feels distant now, like someone you once knew. You understand at last why you wouldn't last a day. Not because you would fail physically. Not because you couldn't endure hunger, or cold, or distance. But because lasting a day here means letting go of the need to be separate from it all. It means becoming part of something that does not pause to notice you, does not slow to comfort you, does not shape itself around your limits. The Mongol Empire is not cruel. It is continuous. And as evening draws near again, as the sky deepens and the first star appears, you ride on with the others. No longer resisting the motion, no longer measuring the cost. The wind moves through the grass in endless waves. Hooves beat a steady rhythm into the earth. The empire flows forward, carrying everything with it. Your thoughts grow softer, slower, lighter, until they drift like dust in the golden air, settling gently into the deep quiet rest that waits at the edge of the steppe where movement never truly ends and sleep comes like a final surrender to the horizon. Twilight lingers longer than you expect, stretched thin across the sky like a fading memory. The camp settles in low and quiet. Fires burn small, their light warm but contained, never daring to challenge the vast dark around them. Horses stand in loose clusters, heads lowered, sides rising and falling in slow, patient rhythm. Leather creaks softly. Someone coughs once, then silence returns. You sit with your hands resting loosely in your lap, watching the last color drain from the horizon. The sky deepens from gold to blue to a shade so dark it almost feels solid. One by one, stars appear, steady and unblinking. Your body is tired, but the tiredness no longer frightens you. It is familiar now, like the weight of a blanket pulled up to your chin. You think of motion, not just the movement of hooves across grass, but the movement of days, of breath, of change. Nothing here holds still long enough to gather dust. Even rest is only a pause between strides. A breeze passes, cool and gentle. It brushes your face, carries the scent of dry grass and distant earth. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the air move through you, not against you. Somewhere nearby, a rider murmurs to a horse in a low, steady voice. The sound blends with the wind until you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. Everything here exists in layers, overlapping without conflict. You lie back slowly, the ground firm beneath you. Above, the stars seem endless, scattered like grains of salt across black stone. You trace their shapes with your eyes, not searching for meaning, just letting your gaze drift. You understand now that the Empire is not something you stand inside. It is something you move within like a current in a wide, slow river. You are carried whether you fight or float. Your breathing deepens. The day's images blur, grass bending under wind, hooves rising and falling, light shifting across the land. They fade gently, like footprints erased by dust. You would not last a day here because lasting implies resistance. And the Mongol world is not something to resist. It is something to move with, to yield to trust, without needing to understand. Sleep begins to gather at the edges of your thoughts. The fire crackles softly, then settles. A horse stamps once, then grows still. The wind continues its endless journey across the steppe, smoothing the land, carrying stories no one writes down. Your body grows heavy, sinking into warmth and quiet. The vastness above no longer feels overwhelming. It feels protective, like a sky wide enough to hold every thought until it disappears. The Empire moves on in the dark, even now, even always. And as the rhythm of hooves, wind, and breath blends into one long, gentle current, you let yourself drift fully, softly, completely into rest, carried across the endless grass of night where no day needs to be lasted and no distance needs to be crossed because everything has already become still. Close your eyes again and let the steppe return. The night has passed, but not completely. Dawn here does not arrive all at once. It seeps into the world slowly, like water soaking into dry earth. The sky is pale gray, stretched wide above you, and the stars fade one by one, reluctant to leave. You wake to the sound of breathing. Not your own, the horses'. Dozens of them stand nearby, quiet shapes in the dim light, their breath rising in soft white clouds. The air is cold enough to sting your nose, but still enough that every small sound feels important. Leather creaks. Someone shifts in their blankets. A distant bird calls once, then falls silent. You do not sit up right away. You lie there, feeling the ground beneath you, firm, uneven, real, no mattress, no walls. Just earth and sky with nothing in between. For a moment, you forget who you were before this place. The world you came from feels like a story someone else told. Then movement begins. A rider nearby pushes aside felt and stands. Another follows. No one rushes, but no one lingers either. Morning here is not discussed. It simply happens, and you are expected to happen with it. You rise, slower than the others but steadier than before. Your body protests, but softly now. The pain is no longer sharp. It's a dull, familiar weight, like wearing a heavy coat you cannot remove. Your horse turns its head as you approach. Dark eyes, calm and unreadable. You rest your hand against its neck, feeling warmth through coarse hair. The animal exhales slowly, as if accepting you just for today. The camp disappears quickly. What looked like a small village in the night becomes nothing more than trampled grass and fading smoke. The steppe erases all signs of you as soon as you move on. You begin to understand, this empire does not build itself into the land. It moves across it like weather. You mount. The ride begins before the sun fully rises. Light spreads in thin bands across the horizon, turning the grass silver, then gold. Shadows stretch long behind the riders, tall and ghost-like. No one speaks. The only sound is the steady rhythm of hooves, soft and endless, like a heartbeat too large to belong to any one creature. As the sun climbs, warmth returns in slow layers. The cold leaves your fingers first, then your face. Wind brushes past, gentle this morning, carrying the dry scent of grass and distant soil. You breathe deeply without thinking. Hours pass, but they do not feel like hours. Time here is measured in light, in distance between water sources, in how high the sun sits above the land. You stop wondering what time it is. The question no longer means anything. A brief halt comes near a shallow stream, barely more than a ribbon of water cutting through the earth. Horses drink first. Always the horses. You kneel and cup your hands, lifting cold water to your mouth. It tastes of stone and sky, No one rests long. Back in the saddle, the land opens wider than before. Rolling hills flatten into endless plain. The horizon becomes a thin line between earth and sky, almost too far away to believe in. You feel small. Not in a frightening way, just aware. A single rider in a moving sea of grass, part of a line that stretches beyond what you can see. The Mongol Empire does not surround you with walls, it surrounds you with space. By midday, the sun is high and bright. Heat shimmers faintly above the ground. Sweat gathers at your neck and back, then dries almost as quickly as it forms. You drink when offered. You do not wait to be thirsty. Your thoughts drift. You think about how strange it is that this life, which once felt impossible, now feels simply present. Not easy, not comfortable, just real. A bird circles high overhead, barely moving its wings. You watch it for a while, carried on currents you cannot see. That is what this feels like. You realize being carried by forces larger than yourself, learning to balance instead of control. The ride continues. Shadows shorten, then begin to grow long again. The light softens from white to gold. The wind cools. Your body feels heavy, but not desperate. You know evening will come. You know you will stop. And that knowledge is enough. When camp is finally made, it happens with quiet precision. Shelters rise low and round. Fires glow small and steady. Horses are checked, watered, loosened from their burdens. You sit near the edge of the group, watching the sky change color once more. Orange fades to pink, pink to violet, violet to deep blue. The first star appears. You feel tired, deeply, completely tired, but also still calm. The kind of stillness that only comes after a day spent entirely in motion. You understand now. You wouldn't last a day here if you tried to fight it. If you demanded comfort. If you waited for the land to adjust to you. But if you let the day carry you, breath by breath, mile by mile, the step does something unexpected. It quiets you. The fire crackles softly. A horse shifts. The wind resumes its endless journey across the grass. You lie back, eyes half closed, the sky vast above you. And as the Mongol Empire continues moving through the dark, steady, patient, unstoppable, your thoughts loosen, your body softens, and sleep comes gently, like the horizon slowly swallowing the last light of day. The fire has burned low now, reduced to a soft red glow beneath pale ash. You lie on your back, wrapped in wool that smells faintly of smoke and horse, watching the night stretch endlessly above you. The stars here are not decorations. They are sharp, bright, and countless, scattered across the sky like frost across dark stone. The air is colder than you expected. It slips under the edge of your clothing, brushes your cheeks, settles into your fingertips. But you no longer tense against it. You shift slightly, tuck your hands closer, and let your body adjust. Resistance wastes warmth. Stillness keeps it. Around you, the camp breathes. A horse exhales deeply. Leather creaks as someone turns in their sleep. From farther out, beyond the circle of firelight, comes the quiet sound of grazing, steady tearing of grass, calm and unhurried. You begin to notice something new. The dark no longer feels empty. When you first arrived, night felt like a vast unknown, filled with imagined dangers. Now it feels layered, alive in quiet ways. The wind has a direction. The ground holds warmth from the day. The animals move with purpose. Nothing here is truly still, it only appears that way. Your breathing slows to match the rhythm of the world around you. In the distance, a rider on watch shifts position. You hear the faint jingle of metal, the soft crunch of boots on earth. No alarm, no urgency, just presence. Awareness carried through the night like a steady flame. This is how the Empire sleeps, not carelessly, not fearfully, but lightly, ready to wake at the smallest change. Clouds drift slowly overhead, thin enough that the stars shine through them like lights behind silk. You watch them move, unhurried, their shapes dissolving and reforming without effort. Time feels like that here, not ticking forward, but flowing. Your body feels heavy now, pleasantly so. The ache in your muscles has softened into warmth. Your hands no longer throb. Even your mind, which once raced with questions, has grown quiet. There is nothing left to solve tonight. The land does not offer answers, only experience. A breeze passes across the steppe, bending the grass in long, slow waves. The sound is almost like distant water, a low whisper that never quite stops. It carries the scent of earth, of animals, of open space untouched by walls. You realize something as you lie there beneath the sky. The Mongol Empire does not exhaust you only through movement. It exhausts you by removing distraction. There is nowhere to hide from yourself here, no noise to drown out your thoughts, no comfort to soften your edges. And when all of that falls away, what remains is simple: breath, warmth, the steady rise and fall of life continuing around you. Another rider passes quietly near the edge of camp, checking the horses. A hand brushes along a mane. A rope is adjusted. Small acts, repeated every night, every journey, every mile. Survival here is not dramatic, it is careful. Your eyes grow heavier. The fire shifts once, sending up a small spiral of sparks that rise and vanish into the dark. For a moment they look like stars trying to return to the sky. You let your gaze soften, no longer trying to focus on anything in particular. The world blurs gently at the edges. Some stretch farther apart. The wind fades into background, steady and constant. You understand now why you wouldn't last a day here, not because the Empire is loud or violent at every moment, but because it asks you to live without the protections you didn't know you relied on. No fixed shelter. No guaranteed comfort. No separation between you and the world. Just openness. Vast, honest openness. And yet, lying here now, wrapped in darkness and quiet breath, that openness no longer feels harsh. It feels spacious. The sky arches above you, immense and calm. The steppe stretches in all directions, carrying riders, horses, and stories across distances too large to measure. The Empire moves even in stillness. Your breathing slows again, in and out. The sounds of the camp fade further, blending into the endless hush of wind over grass. The stars blur behind your eyelids. And as the night deepens, holding everything gently in its wide, cool hands, you drift at last into sleep, carried not by walls or silence, but by the steady, patient rhythm of a world that never truly stops moving. All right, we stay in the quiet. The night does not end suddenly. It thins. The stars fade slowly, like embers losing their glow, and a pale gray light begins to gather along the edge of the world. You do not wake all at once. Awareness returns in layers. First the feeling of cool air on your face, then the weight of wool against your shoulders, then the distant, steady sound of horses breathing. Dawn on the steppe is gentle, but it is not lazy. You open your eyes to a sky that looks almost colorless, stretched wide and empty. The fire beside you is nothing more than warm ash now. A rider kneels beside it, stirring quietly, coaxing a small flame back to life. The sparks rise briefly, then settle. The camp is already shifting. Blankets are folded, saddles checked. Movements are soft but certain. No one wastes the calm of early morning. This is the easiest time to travel, before the sun grows strong, before heat drains strength from muscle and thought. You sit up slowly. Your body feels different today. Still tired but not surprised by it. The aches greet you like familiar terrain, hills you know how to cross now. You pull your clothing tighter, breathe into your hands, and rise. The grass is silver with dew. Each step darkens the ground beneath your boots. The air smells clean, almost sweet, as if the world has just been washed. Horses lower their heads, tearing mouthfuls of damp grass before the journey begins again. You approach yours quietly. It turns one ear toward you but does not move away. You run your hand along its neck, feeling the warmth there, the steady life. No words are needed. Your day will depend on each other. Soon the riders mount. The sun has not yet broken the horizon, but light is growing, shapes become clearer. The land rolls out before you, pale and endless, touched by a thin mist that clings low to the ground. The ride begins in near silence. Hooves make a soft, muffled sound against damp earth. Breath drifts in white clouds from horse and rider alike. The world feels suspended, as if time has paused between night and day. You ride into the mist. It swirls gently around the horse's legs, cool against your face. The horizon disappears. The riders ahead of you become shadows, then shapes, then shadows again. It feels like moving through a dream that has no edges. And yet no one hesitates. This is simply another form of the steppe, not clearer, not darker, just different. You follow the rider ahead, keeping distance by instinct now. Your eyes adjust. Your breathing steadies. The Empire does not wait for perfect conditions. It moves through whatever the world offers. Gradually, the sun rises. Light spills across the land, slow and golden. The mist begins to lift, dissolving into thin air. Shapes sharpen. The horizon returns, wide and certain. Shadows stretch long behind you. Warmth touches your face. You did not notice how cold you were until it begins to fade. The ride continues, steady as ever. Birds lift from the grass as you pass, wings flashing in morning light. The land seems softer at this hour, almost gentle, as if offering a brief kindness before the day grows demanding again. You realize how rare this moment is. Not because it is beautiful, though it is, but because it is quiet in a different way. The quiet of beginnings, of breath before effort, of a world not yet warmed into motion. You sit taller in the saddle without meaning to. There is no destination announced. No promise of what the day will bring. Only the path ahead, unwinding mile by mile beneath hooves. You wouldn't last a day here if you needed certainty. Because each morning arrives like this, open, unfinished, asking you to move forward without knowing what waits beyond the next rise. The Mongol Empire does not offer reassurance. It offers direction. The sun climbs higher. The mist is gone now. The steppe stretches bright and endless once more. And as the rhythm of the ride settles back into its familiar, steady beat, your thoughts grow light again, drifting with the wind, carried gently forward into the long, slow unfolding of another day beneath the boundless sky. Love the pace we've settled into. We'll keep it slow and dreamy. The sun rises higher, and with it, the world becomes clearer, sharper, brighter, less forgiving. The softness of dawn slips away. Shadows shrink. The mist is only a memory now, and the steppe reveals its true face again. Wide, exposed, endless. The grass ripples under the wind like the surface of a golden sea, and you ride through it as if crossing waves that never break. The rhythm of hooves continues beneath you. Clop, breath, leather creak, wind. No one speaks. Words are saved for need. Sound travels far here, and quiet is a form of awareness. Your legs ache from the steady stretch of riding. Your hands feel the reins not as objects, but as extensions of your body. Every shift of the horse travels through you, a shared balance, a conversation without language. Ahead, the riders adjust direction slightly, not toward a road. There are no roads. They follow the land itself, the way the grass grows thicker in a shallow dip, the way the ground slopes gently toward water unseen. The empire moves by memory, by instinct, by knowledge carried in people rather than written in stone. You wouldn't last a day here if you needed signs. Nothing is marked. Nothing announces itself. You must notice. The wind changes. It carries a faint scent, damp earth, faint but certain. The riders angle again. Soon you see it. A narrow ribbon of water cutting through the grass, reflecting the sky like polished metal. The horses drink in turns. No rushing, no splashing. Just quiet lowering of heads, steady gulps, the sound of water disturbed and settling again. You dismount, legs trembling slightly as your feet touch ground. The earth feels strange after hours in the saddle, too still. You kneel and cup water in your hands. It is cold enough to sting. You drink slowly. Fast drinking makes you ill here. Everything is measured, even thirst. The pause is brief. Saddles are checked again, straps tightened. A rider scans the horizon, eyes narrowed, not searching for beauty, but for change. Dust, movement, birds lifting suddenly, nothing. The ride continues. As the day grows warmer, you feel how the sun presses down without mercy. There is no shade except what you carry with you. Sweat gathers at your back, your lips dry. Still the pace remains steady. This is how distance is defeated, not with speed, but with endurance. You begin to understand another reason you wouldn't last. There is no dramatic moment to resist. No single hardship to overcome. Just hours, and more hours. Effort stretched thin across time until comfort feels like a story you once heard. The land rolls on. Occasionally, you pass old signs of those who traveled before. A circle of stones where a fire once burned. Flattened grass where animals rested. Hoof prints hardened into the earth. Nothing remains long. Wind erases everything. The empire leaves little behind because it is always moving forward. By midday, the air shimmers faintly above the ground. The horizon blurs again, not from mist but from heat. Your body feels heavy, thoughts slower, senses narrowed to essentials. Ride, breathe, follow, and strangely, in that narrowing, something becomes easier. When life reduces itself to movement and awareness, there is no space left for worry about yesterday or tomorrow. There is only the next step, the next breath, the next mile. A hawk circles high above. Its shadow passes over you for just a second. Cool, silent, gone. You watch it drift on rising air, barely moving its wings. It does not fight the wind. It uses it. The riders do the same. They lean forward slightly as the terrain slopes, conserving the horse's strength. They slow when the ground hardens. They quicken across softer stretches. Effort flows with the land, not against it. The empire survives because it does not argue with the world. The afternoon stretches long and golden. Your body moves almost automatically now, part of the rhythm, no longer separate from it. Fatigue is still there, but it has lost its sharpness. It is simply another sensation, like wind or sun. Far ahead, barely visible, a dark line begins to break the horizon. Hills. Not large, not dramatic, but different. A change in the endless flat. The riders angle toward them without hesitation. A new place to rest. New grass, new water, always moving. Always adapting. You ride on, carried forward under the vast sky, beginning to understand that lasting here isn't about strength alone. It's about becoming small enough inside to fit into something this big. And as the steppe rolls endlessly onward, you follow, quiet, steady, and slowly dissolving into the rhythm of a world that never stops moving. We'll drift deeper into the day, nice and slow. The dark line on the horizon grows, little by little, until it becomes shape instead of shadow. Low hills, soft-backed and worn by wind, rise from the grass like the gentle swell of a resting animal. Nothing sharp, nothing dramatic. But after hours of open flat, they feel almost comforting, a change the eyes can hold on to. The horses seem to sense it too. Their ears lift. Their steps gain the smallest hint of energy. Even animals understand the promise of variation. Different grass, possible streams, a break in the wind. You ride toward the hills as the sun begins its slow descent westward. The light shifts from white to gold, softening edges, stretching shadows long again. The day's harshness loosens its grip. Your body feels hollowed out by effort. Not painful. Just used, like a tool that has done its work. Each movement is slower now, but more economical. You no longer waste energy adjusting every little discomfort. You simply move with it. That is another reason you wouldn't last here. Because comfort is not restored each night to full. You begin each day slightly tired from the last. Strength is something managed, not refilled. As you near the hills, the wind changes again. It breaks around the slopes, flowing in quieter currents. The constant pressure against your face eases. Sounds carry differently, closer, softer. Hooves thud more than they whisper now. The riders spread slightly, scanning the land. Hills mean shelter, but also hiding places. Awareness sharpens, though no one speaks. You find your own eyes tracing lines of shadow, patches of darker green where water might collect. Then you see it. A shallow valley between two rises, where grass grows thicker and a narrow stream threads through like a silver string. Not large, but enough. The riders angle down. The descent is slow and careful. Loose stones shift under hooves. Your horse lowers its head, choosing steps with quiet intelligence. You trust it now, another thing you would not have understood on your first day. At the bottom, the air feels cooler. The hills hold the wind back just enough. The grass brushes your boots as you dismount, legs stiff, knees uncertain. You stretch without thinking, back arching, shoulders rolling. Around you, the camp forms almost without instruction. Horses are unsaddled, lines are set. A small fire is prepared in a shallow hollow, protected from stray gusts. Movements are slower than last night, but just as sure. You kneel by the stream and wash your hands. The water carries away dust, sweat, the fine layer of the steppe that settles over everything. You splash your face, and the shock of coolness wakes something inside you that the long ride had dulled. The sky deepens toward evening. Gold fades to amber, then to a soft, endless blue. The hills cast long shadows that stretch like blankets across the valley floor. Birds move through the air in brief, darting paths, settling for the night. You sit near the small fire once it's lit. The flame is modest. It does not try to challenge the vastness around it. It simply exists, steady and useful. A pot is set. Water warms. A simple meal is shared in quiet bites. No one rushes. The empire moves quickly when needed, but rest is not hurried either. Energy is treated like a precious thing, spent carefully, gathered slowly. You lean back on your hands, looking up as the first stars return. It happens again, that strange shift inside you. The sense that the world is enormous and you are small within it, and somehow that is not frightening anymore. It is relieving. You do not have to control this place. You only have to move through it. The hills stand dark against the fading light. The horses graze, their shapes calm and steady. The riders speak softly now, low voices blending with the crackle of fire and the constant murmur of the stream. Another day crossed. Not conquered. Just traveled. You feel sleep approaching earlier tonight, heavier, deeper. Your body has learned the pattern. Ride, arrive, repeat. There is comfort in rhythm, even when the rhythm is hard. The firelight flickers across the grass, across saddles laid on the ground, across faces lined by sun and wind. Above, the sky opens once more, vast and patient. You lie back again, using your rolled cloak beneath your head. The earth is firm but not unkind. The air cools slowly. Sounds stretch farther apart as night settles into the valley. And as the hills hold the wind at bay and the empire pauses in this small pocket of stillness, you drift, not into the sleep of safety, but into the sleep of exhaustion honestly earned, beneath a sky that watches without judgment. We'll let the peace hold a little longer. The kind of quiet that feels wide and deep. Night settles fully into the valley, not like a curtain falling, but like ink slowly spreading through water. The last color drains from the sky, leaving only a deep blue that darkens by degrees. Stars gather overhead, one by one, until the space between them seems thinner than the dark itself. The hills become silhouettes, soft-backed giants resting around the camp. The stream continues its low murmur. It doesn't change pace for day or night. Water here does not hurry. It simply moves, patient, certain of its path. The sound threads through the stillness, gentle and endless. You lie on your side now, cloak pulled up against your shoulder. The ground has given back the day's warmth but is cooling quickly. You feel it through the layers, not uncomfortable, just present. Everything here is present. Nothing fades completely into background. A horse shifts its weight nearby, hoof thudding softly against earth. Another snorts, then goes still again. The herd's breathing forms a slow, living rhythm around the edge of camp. Your own breathing follows it. In, out, you notice how tired you are in a different way tonight. Not the sharp fatigue of strain, but the deep heaviness that comes after long use, like a door that has swung open and closed so many times it finally rests without tension. You wouldn't last a day here if you needed to feel ready before resting. Rest is taken whenever it can be, not when everything feels perfect. There's always something unfinished. Always another mile tomorrow. Sleep comes not because the work is done, but because the body insists. The fire has burned low again, smaller than last night. Just enough to warm, not enough to waste wood. Its glow paints the nearest grass in soft amber, fading quickly into shadow. Beyond that light, the valley opens into darkness. But the darkness does not feel empty anymore. It feels full of distance, of wind moving across the hills, of animals you never see but sense in the quiet shifts of the land. Life continues out there without your awareness, and somehow that feels reassuring. You turn your head slightly. Above you, the sky seems closer in the valley, framed by the curve of the hills. The stars don't flicker. They burn steady, ancient, and unconcerned with the small movements below. Time stretches differently under a sky like this. Minutes do not march, they drift. You think of the day behind you, not in events, but in sensations. The cool mist of morning, the long heat of noon, the ache of riding, the relief of water on your hands. Each memory is simple, physical, honest. There were no interruptions. No noise layered on top of experience. Just the world, met directly. That is why this life wears people down. There is no buffer, no walls between you and wind. No roof between you and sky. No distance between effort and consequence. Every choice, every movement meets the land immediately. And yet, lying here now, you feel something close to calm. Not comfort, that word belongs to softer places. This is steadiness. The quiet knowledge that for this moment, you have what you need. Warmth enough, water nearby, the presence of others, the vast sky overhead. Your eyes grow heavier. The fire dims further, its glow pulsing softly as embers shift. A rider on the edge of camp clears their throat, a small human sound in all the vastness. Then silence again. The stream continues, the horses breathe. The wind slides gently along the slopes above, never stopping, never hurrying. Your thoughts loosen, edges blurring like the horizon in heat. The valley, the hills, the empire itself feel less like places and more like a slow, endless motion you are floating inside. Breath slows. The weight of the day sinks fully into the ground beneath you, as if the earth itself is carrying it now. Above, the stars keep their patient watch,